Happening today, a big debate in St. Paul over a controversial bill. At issue, allowing doctors to prescribe medications so patients with terminal illnesses can end their lives.
Ellery McCardle is here to explain. And Ellery, when you talk about something like this, there's always strong opinions.
Yeah, absolutely, Gia and Chris. I mean, the people who support this bill want the right to choose a peaceful death. Those opposed call it physician-assisted suicide. Well, today a first ever hearing will be held in St. Paul by a House committee. Now, at that hearing, Marianne Turnbull of St. Paul will tell her story. She is living with terminal cancer and supports this bill. Now, the bill is much like the one in Oregon, which would allow adults with less than 6 months to live to get a medication to end their lives. Now, the law in Oregon has been in effect for more than 20 years, and similar ones have been passed in other states. But there's a lot of opposition, namely from the Catholic Church and other groups. A big opponent is the Minnesota Alliance for Ethical Health Care. It calls the bill physician-assisted suicide, and it believes the government should instead focus on prioritizing proper treatment, management of pain, and quality end-of-life care. Now, that group is going to hold a press conference at noon, urging lawmakers to halt this bill, and then the official hearing begins at 1 o'clock.